So, does anyone care to touch on this further?
And there's a distinction to be made between private enemies or personal enemies, someone who has personally wronged you, somebody who has, given you their hand, has insulted you.
I'm guessing he's never recited the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And you have a personal grievance against them, versus what might be called a public enemy, which would be the barbarian horde at the gate that threatens your civilization.
Are you talking about Islam? Or are you talking about which of your perceived enemies are you talking about? My name is Jerry. I left MAGA, and something just fell into my lap that I have got to address right here and now. This is coming from Right Wing Watch, and Christian nationalists call for the destruction of their political enemies by any means necessary. This is something that I have heard echoed in the halls of MAGA. You can see this dropped March 23rd, 2026, which is today. Um, this is just wild, folks. I've got a Bible verse to do after
We are
this.
facing evil in our day that our grandparents didn't have to face. That's just the reality because of the degradation of our culture and the disintegration of, or the apostatization, shall we say, of America walking
Okay, so there's a difference between destruction and apostasy. Destruction is tearing it apart. Apostasy is walking away from it.
away from the faith that made this country great. We are descending more and more into cultural chaos, and we are seeing real rank idolatry and evil, child sacrifice, child mutilation. We are seeing such unbelievable wickedness.
Okay, so is he saying that the Trump administration dropping tomahawks on a school full of little girls was right? That wasn't evil? That's not child sacrifice?
We need to we need to be equipped with the Psalms, with to pray and sing these, because we were given our offensive weapon in this battle, in this spiritual war that we are in, is the sword of the Spirit, and we need to be able to wield it
So militant.
effectively, and not just leave some of it on the shelf, like, oh, we don't want to use the imprecatory psalms, those are too harsh. Well, those are actually what's needed in many of these situations. But when I was talking to my wife about this, that's what she asked me. She said, well, and she made that observation too, which I thought was really apt of her. But that, yeah, we want them to die. We want their flesh to die, and we want them to be
Want their flesh to die. There's only one way for the flesh to die, and that's what he said. He's oh my goodness, he's talking about killing people.
raised to new life. But if it would be not within God's sovereign will and his plan to save them, to raise them to new life, we pray that God would stop them by any means necessary. That, hey,
Yes.
stop the child sacrifice, stop the child mutilation, stop the sexual degeneracy that is leading our nation into degeneracy and chaos. And
How about you start asking to get the Epstein files released so we can get accountability around that?
we should be eager and, I would say, desperate for God to stop this by any means necessary.
In my day,
Imprecatory prayer. They're calling for the destruction of their enemies or their perceived enemies. That's how I need to word it. Perceived enemies.
daily interactions with this non-Christian person, I can be kind to them. At the same time, I can want to see their worldview, their LGBTQ political movement completely and utterly destroyed.
Yeah.
I can
Yes.
want both of those things at the same time. I can be kind to them.
I'm really not sure what to say about that. Okay. You can care about your kid, but you can break all their toys and still care about your kid.
Them at a personal level while wanting to see their worldview, their way of life, their political and cultural movement completely obliterated.
Well,
Would you apply that to other families? I mean, obviously, the Trump administration is separating families. Is he also applying it in that way? That if somebody else's worldview doesn't match his own, that all of their worldview needs to be destroyed, including their families? I mean, they're already talking about taking lives. Where's it going to end?
on that note, I think it's really important that I learned this a few years back how the word that's described when Jesus is using the term love your enemies is the word that for private enemy, for a personal and private enemy.
No, 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 no. Jesus said, I give unto you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you, for by these works they will know you are my followers. Oh my goodness.
And there's a distinction to be made between private enemies or personal enemies, someone who has personally wronged you, somebody who has, given you their hand, has insulted you.
I'm guessing he's never recited the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And you have a personal grievance against them, versus what might be called a public enemy, which would be the barbarian horde at the gate that threatens your civilization.
Are you talking about Islam? Or are you talking about which of your perceived enemies are you talking about?
And you're not called to love the barbarian horde. You are called to love your personal enemies, those who, you have personal grievances against. But that
No, no. Oh my. Oh, he's trying my patience. Do y'all remember when Geraldo Rivera hosted that debate in Brooklyn between the white supremacist and the black supremacist, and he ended up catching a chair with his face? Yeah, chair face. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying I don't know what I'm saying. Just because you think it doesn't mean you got to do it. That's what I'm saying.
barbarian horde at the gate who wants to come in and rape and pillage and plunder and destroy you.
All right, this narrative is being pushed since the 1950s by William Branham. Except that in that case, it was communist. Here, it's anybody not a Christian, which is ever. Oh my gosh.
Your family and your civilization, you don't love them. All right. You don't say, oh, well, I guess I got to love them. Come on in, guys. No.
Hold up, hold up, hold up. Matthew 5 in the English Standard Version. Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. Love your enemies. Starting with verse 43. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your enemies and hate, or love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, that reward, or what reward do you have? Do you, or do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? In verse 48, you therefore must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see if we can get through the rest of this.
No, you don't. You cry out to the Lord that He would bring judgment upon them, that He would stop them, and like you said, first and foremost, hey, may the Lord Jesus Christ appear to them in the sky and convert them first and foremost. Yes, that would be great, but stop them, Lord, by any means necessary. And I think ideologies like the alphabet cult ideology, or
What do you mean by the alphabet cults is LGBTQ plus?
or even like mass immigration, leftist ideology, egalitarianism, feminism, all of these ugly isms that are destroying our society. Those are equivalent
Isms destroying society, like Christian nationalism.
to the barbarian horde, those who have been sucked into that ideology and promote those ideologies and pursue them in our current cultural climate and our context. Those are enemies. Those are public enemies who have made themselves enemies of God, and like you said, enemies of nature, enemies of the created order. And we want God to stop them. And yet, like you said, if my lesbian neighbor needs someone to help her change her tire, I want to be quick to be able to do that, while also saying everything that you stand for and that you pursue is evil and wicked, and I want it stopped. I want it.
Pursuing love and acceptance and personal fulfillment is evil because that's an individual identity. These people can't handle anybody that has an individual identity. They project their identity doctrine on everybody else. Oh, well, you're proud that you're gay, so your gayness is your identity, without realizing that they're proud to be what they are, and they're trying to shove it down everybody else's throat. Literally, they're talking about killing people if they don't change their ways.
Stopped by any means necessary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I would maybe add another wrinkle to that. I maybe put it this way, because it is interesting in the Sermon on the Mount, the enemies that Jesus is talking about for the Jews in that context would have primarily been Romans, who were in a sense both public and private enemies. But, and this is where Ordo Amoris can really help us. So Ordo Amoris means that there is a structure to our loves. There's a hierarchy to our love. We're not supposed to love everybody in exactly the same way. I've got greater obligations and therefore a greater love towards, say, my family than I do someone who's outside of my family. I've got greater love.
Yeah, the Greeks broke it down like that with philos love, your love for your brother, eros love, your intimate love for your partner or partners, agape love for all. And there's four other words with varying degrees of depth for love, but agape love is a love for all mankind. And from what I was taught growing up, agape love is what you were supposed to have, except our agape love came at the force of a hammer.
For my own countrymen than I do people on the other side of the world. There are different kinds of proximity. We can talk about familial or geographic, or familial, geographic, spiritual forms of proximity. And depending on that proximity, I've got a different kind of obligation to that person.
Right.
So let's say somebody breaks into my house, okay, and they're threatening to kill my family, maybe kidnap my children, rape my wife and daughters, all these kind of terrible things. Okay. I mean,
Let's see if we can track with where he's heading with this.
in the moment, if you say, well, do you love this person? I can say, well, he's an image bearer. I can love him in some sense, but I love my family much more than I love him.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, out of love for my family, I will kill him. I will kill this evil intruder who's threatening my family's life, the lives of my family members. I will kill him because I love my family more than I love him.
Yeah.
And I've got an obligation to protect him, to protect my family. And in protecting them, that may mean that I have to end his life and send him to meet his maker. I don't have to say that I don't love him in any sense whatsoever. I can say I do.
And there's your justification on how you justify taking another human's life. You put them in a category where you perceive them as an imminent threat. And now they're in a category of, if final dispatchment is necessary, it's all good. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with self-defense.
But I love my own family.
But hang on. There's nothing wrong with self-defense, but good grief. To categorize that by saying, "Oh well, I would if I truly loved my fellow human and they broke in on me, I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. No, self defense and self preservation and preservation and defense of those immediately around you that are in your care is perfectly okay. At least it is in my book. But then again, I grew up hearing this kind of stuff and I had to work myself into a situation where I really don't like drama. I really don't. But if I'm presented with it, I will handle it how it is needed to be handled at the moment in its most appropriate manner, preferably with words. But when I hear a sudden sound out in public, my immediate train of thought, the chain reaction of thought is, what was that? Do I need to respond? And if so, at what level? That's the full thought process. Other people are like, huh, what was that? Do I need to get involved? Okay, no. No, it's because of my training. It's because of my experience. It's because of the indoctrinations. Um, it's anyway.
The lives of my family members. I will kill him because I love my family more than I love him.
Yeah.
And I've got an obligation to protect him, to protect my family. And in protecting them, that may mean that I have to end his life and send him to meet his maker. I don't have to say that I don't love him in any sense whatsoever. I can say I do, but I love my own family so much more.
Right.
That I will defend my family and I will do what is necessary to defend my family. And if that means killing him, that means killing him.
Yeah, that's right.
And that, so because that's what the law of God requires, and you could certainly say allows, but I would also say even requires in that kind of situation. So even if you say we are to love our enemies, even our political or public enemies, there's still a sense in which we can say, yeah, there are times where we have to kill someone we love. Out of self-defense or out of national defense, because we love our people more.
Just wow. I just needed to bring that to the table. I needed to show you what I've been talking about, and having been taught in church how to justify ending a fellow human's life. I am not opposed to self-defense, but with the way they're describing this, it wouldn't be difficult for them to go ahead, for some of them to go ahead and push that ideology further and further and further out away from a passive existence. All right, that was kind of the hot take. It just kind of I saw that and I needed to respond. It's a perfect example of something that I've been trying to describe, trying to explain, and just couldn't. So I hope this video was insightful for you. Uh, like I always say, get the rest you need so you can help others. And yeah, something like that. I'm agitated. I'm not thinking right. Get the rest you need so you can help take care of each other and keep track of those fluids. And I'll check you on the next video.